Hello, everybody. Hello.
Gosh, this seems awfully tranquil.
Yeah, well, I thought it appropriate to play something quite peaceful because we're inevitably going to end up discussing what is, I would say, probably the biggest news story of, well, at least for week and probably the decade at this point. Maybe not decade because of
See how it
COVID. But
pans out. I was going to say I've got two big topics that I want to talk about.
well, I think
can either do Israel, Palestine, or Jimmy Savile.
Well, I think there's actually a bigger story than both of those.
Oh right.
You might not have heard because it's not the sort of thing you'd normally pay that much attention to, but I hear that Eden Hazard, the Belgian football player, is announced his retirement,
Right.
which is sort of a big deal apparently.
Gosh, he was quite the centre half.
He was quite the Belgian, I'll tell you that much.
He like the way he handled that ball with his feet. He certainly did pretty darn well with that, didn't he?
I can't remember how to zoom out.
I'm running low on cash, but I've had spent a lot this month on necessary stuff. So
also you've been doing what you do. I'm going to undo that, but it's just a peaceful game. Yes. So shall we start with the elephant in the room?
Okay.
Oh, that's how I'll do it. Jimmy Savile.
Well, do you want me to do Jimmy Savile? I'd say do Jimmy Savile. Do you want me to discuss this Jimmy Savile thing first?
Well, I mean, I had it on my topics list that I have accidentally misplaced. So I am more than happy for us to discuss that first, as sickening as it is.
Well, did you watch the Steve Coogan Jimmy Savile thing?
Oh, good God, no.
Well, I've seen all the episodes. They're all available on iPlayer. And this has been a very controversial thing. And it's the sort of thing that seems like it might destroy Steve Coogan's career. I know he was worried about it. But having watched it, I think he's going to come off fine. And I've heard a lot of people really complimenting his performance.
Yeah, that's basically all I've heard is people complimenting his performance and criticising how little it actually added to the situation.
For those of you that don't know, this is a four-part drama called The Reckoning, which basically chronicles Jimmy Savile's life and the framing devices he's talking through. He's talking to a reporter about it. He's writing a book. That book will eventually be known as In Plain Sight: The Life and Lives of Jimmy Savile, which is a book I have read, and it is good. Yeah, I was sort of hesitant about this, and I watched it. I read an article, The Guardian or BBC, I think it was BBC, where basically Steve Coogan said that in his opinion there are only about 4 actors in the country who could play Jimmy Savile, and he is one of them. And I disagree. I seem to be the only voice I have heard that doesn't necessarily think he's a good choice to play Jimmy Savile. I think he does a good job. He puts his all into it. He takes it seriously. He does a good job. I just think this is the sort of role that should have gone to some theatre actor who basically very few of the public had ever heard of. I remember ages ago it was called The Execution of Gary Glitter, and it was a Channel 4 pseudo documentary thing. It had real talking heads, and Widdicombe incidentally was on it as a talking head.
What, Tory premise?
Yes. The premise was that.
Sorry, we need to explain that for the one because the one person who watches this won't be the one person who watched that video. The last video we recorded merely how long, Ben? Half hour tops? Not even that.
Was an hour.
No, we haven't recorded it an hour ago.
Okay, no. Basically, it was keep talking, nobody explodes. There's a symbol in it that quite looked like a big pair of lady Tory tits, and Anne Widdecombe has
well, she's a Tory lady.
Bigoted belters. Anyway,
bigoted belters.
Now, the premise of The Execution of Gary Glitter was that Britain brought back the death penalty, and Gary Glitter ends up being the first person who is executed, and it's his trial and him coming to terms with the fact that they're going to execute him. And the actor they got was really good, and but he was sort of, I think it was more of a theatre thing guy. He'd done a bit of TV, I think, but that's who I think they should have gotten, because it's a bit distracting, and it's not it is distracting, and I agree that it doesn't really add anything, you know, because a lot of the time it's just like, oh god, I don't really want to see Alan Partridge make aggressive sexual overtures to this 15-year-old.
Because why would you?
So a lot of it I don't really like, but the last episode sort of made me think how this could be made better, because a large chunk of the last episode, a lot of it is speculative, or a bit of it is speculative. So it leans really heavily into this idea, which is mentioned in the book and seems to be quite popular, and I sort of agree with it, that Jimmy Savile was very much a Catholic, and that the reason why, or one of the reasons why he did so much of his charity work was because when he died, he wanted to be able to point out all the good he did to offset all the terrible things he did, and thereby avoid going to hell.
I'm sure that worked out well.
Yes, it really leans into this idea that that's the reckoning, right? That's the title of the drama, and the reckoning is that Jimmy Savile is getting on a bit, and death is just round the corner, and there's a reckoning coming in one form or another. But there's a couple of, in one scene, the reporter Dan Davies is being really sort of forceful with him and telling him he did these things and he thinks he did these things, and that he should just come clean now while he has the chance. And Jimmy Savile's not really going anywhere with it, so he gets up to leave, and Jimmy Savile quickly says, "Wait, I'll tell you everything." Of course, he dies before he gets the opportunity to do that. I don't think that happened in real life. If it did, I've never read anything about that.
That'd be the kind of thing that you would hear about.
Yeah. There's another bit where he's discovered when his mother died, he had her. He says he had her all to himself a bit, for the first time in his life, because he had a lot of siblings. And he mentions offhand that he promised her that he would stop doing, quote, that shit. And he's asked what does he mean when he says that shit, and he sort of moves on. But this last episode, I think the better way to do this concept is just take that last chunk where it's just the reporter with Jimmy Savile and he's trying to nail him down on this, and just turn it into like a film. That's really what it should have been, like an hour and a half drama film, where it's just this reporter trying to nail down Jimmy Savile, and Jimmy Savile sort of worried about internal damnation and all this stuff. Because it doesn't really add anything, and the victims are in it. There's 4 victims of many, and they sort of introduce each episode and talk about what happened to them and how it affected them and all sorts. And that's really important. That will never stop being important, that these people have a voice, and that we don't forget that they were real people. But I don't think it adds anything to see a dramatic reenactment of Jimmy Savile,
being a nonce.
Yes, raping children. Obviously, you don't see the act, but it's like the build up to it, and he's got them in his dressing room and is being forceful and whatever.
Does he call any of them a cunt? Because I know he called someone a cunt.
Yes, he uses the C word quite frequently. One of the things I actually really liked about it is that it ties together that Jimmy Savile, after Jim Will Fix It was cancelled, he was sort of just this. His star had faded. He was sort of this weird figure on the outside of pop culture, and it combines the fact he has no star power with the fact he's getting older, and the fact that society has moved on so much that people are more willing to challenge these behaviours. Like, he tries it on with a nurse and she tells him to fuck off and that he's a dirty old man. At the end, when shortly before he dies, there's a scene where there's a little girl with her family at the seaside, and he's like, come and sit on my lap, and she doesn't know who he is. And that sort of gets to him a bit.
Good bastard.
But really, I think the best way to play that whole concept is just have an hour and a half, this reporter, Jimmy Savile's apartment, he's trying to nail him down. This idea that because he knew. I remember on the Netflix documentary. I don't know if you saw that. It was a two-part thing. I think it was
I
really made for
watch
America.
I watch so few things about nonsense. I'm gonna level with you.
Fair dues. Um, it was made for American audiences, so a lot of it was sort of known. But his biographer was talking about. She mentioned an occasion where I think they were just talking about like how famous he was and his life and legacy and stuff like that. And he just said pretty deadpan like it could all end tomorrow, and he wouldn't elaborate. But it was clear that it's sort of this idea of some sort of justice finding him was playing on his mind. Um, and it's sort of frustrating because we will never know what his attitude to this was really. We can assume, we can make educated guesses, and I think it's a fascinating case. It's a horrific case, a deeply horrific case, but I do think it's a fascinating one. But I think for the most part, the reckoning sort of misses its mark aside from some key points, and I don't think Steve Coogan's career is safe. It wasn't. It didn't sink it. It wasn't so spectacularly bad that we'll still talk about it in 20 years' time. That time that Alan Partridge played Jimmy Savile, and oh god, what a misstep that was.
Because it definitely had the opportunity for it to be such a terrible mistake.
Yeah. Yes, I mean that was everybody's sort of first thought. I know it was my first thought.
Well, I should think it was most people's expectation, to be honest.
Well, yeah, because it's interesting. He doesn't really do a Jimmy Savile impression, and there are two ways you can really approach playing a famous person like that. You can either do an impression of them, or you can just sort of capture the essence of them. In fact, he talked about the difference between the two in an episode of The Trip with Rob Brydon. And he avoids the impression completely because he does it occasionally as Alan Partridge.
Was that while they were doing the Michael Caine impressions?
It's probably. I mean, you could throw a dart at any.
I know they did Michael Caine, didn't they, for one of the.
Yes, I do love The Trip. Yeah, it's a good thing he avoids that because he does that impression as Alan Partridge, and it would be a bit. It would air too close to comedic, I think.
Well, I mean, the real question is, how many times did Jimmy Savile actually say, "Aha"?
Oh god, I dread to think. I don't know what context he would have said. Jumping out of a fucking wardrobe in an 8-year-old's bedroom. I don't fucking know.
Let's not.
No, let's not. But yes, I think there's a good idea in that drama, but I don't think that drama really.
Oh, fuck! I didn't mean to put that.
Was
like
it?
There we go.
Let's talk about something happier in between all the horrors.
What? We're not going onto Israel and Hamas then?
No, we're not. Do you recall ages ago I mentioned I had an awful mold infestation on my ceiling?
Vaguely. You say a lot of things that I only vaguely really listen to.
Well, fair dues.
It's opposite. It's the same the other way around. I'm aware. So, you don't listen to everything I say. Case in point.
Yes, there was a bad mold infestation, a bit of damp in my room, and it covered a nasty chunk of that ceiling. And I bought some stuff. It was like a bleach concoction, and I've sprayed it on my ceiling and I've wiped it down, and it is gone. That ceiling is spotless. There isn't a bit of mold on it anymore, and that is the most beautiful fucking thing I've seen in a long time.
Ah, well.
In a long time. So I'm very happy with that.
I'm very happy for you.
Would you like to describe this game we're playing?
Oh, well, I mean, I did write a full review of it, so if anyone ever wants to read that, I'll make sure that's linked.
Oh, yeah, that's what you said. I thought you'd mentioned what game you were playing, but no, you just said it was something I reviewed. What is it?
It's called Dorfromantik, and the premise of the game is you've got these little tiles that represent various scenery. So in this case, I'm controlling a tile that has 2 bits of farm and a house on it. And if you get points, if you link it up to stuff. So
that's nice.
In this case, it's sort of, yeah. In this case, because that house is lined up with another house, and one of the farms is lined up with another one, and a blank one is lined up with another one, I'll get 3 lots of points for that.
This is a nice calm game.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought it,
Yeah.
given that we're going to be discussing some pretty unpleasant things in this video.
Yes, I hope Jimmy Saville hasn't sullied the quaintness of this. I really hope not. This is a charming little place you're building.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure where I'd want to live in it just yet. But when we inevitably end up losing, because it is one of those games where you do eventually lose.
There's only so far you can go with it, I guess.
Well, I mean, there comes a point where you run out of tiles. So, as is always the case in these sorts of games, just because that's how it works.
I think I would live in town. I like the idea of living off the beaten track, but if it's in the countryside and there's woods everywhere, I get a bit scared, you see.
So you wouldn't want to live over here then?
Everywhere.
Over here? There is
Oh,
in this
no,
village
thank you.
that's right next to the...
house, no.
You definitely wouldn't want to live in one of them.
I'll take one of the houses in the village, but I won't take that house next to that empty
Tell you what,
tiles.
you can...
The backs against the forest with the wild boar.
You wouldn't want that one?
No.
Okay, because you'd either have to go past the boar or through the fields like Samwise Gamgee. What if I put a lake there?
Oh, great. Now there's a fucking bog monster.
There you go. Have a bog monster.
Every time a fish sort of splashes about, I'll shit myself.
But you've seen enough Scooby-Doo to know that it's, you know, not
A capitalist in a mask.
Exactly. If it's not an old white guy, it's nothing. You know.
Speaking of Samwise Gamgee,
Yeah.
I rewatched the Lord of the Rings trilogy,
Yes, you told me.
and every time I rewatch it, I grow more fond of it.
Okay.
You know, I do really like it. The bit that really loses me though is the bit when they're in Lothlorien. It just doesn't really do it for me after Moria, which I love.
Tell me,
But
where is Gandalf?
For that, I wish to have
For
a chat.
I much desire to speak with him.
In place of a Dark Lord, you would have a queen. Yeah, I have been watching Lord of the Rings lore videos
Oh god.
because the films do not explain that world, nor do they really need to. You don't. I mean, I don't really know. It shows the map a few times, but it's not. I don't really know where anything is.
Well, you know. Look at this nice little river network that we've got going on here.
But I genuinely have been mulling over reading the book.
I've got the one that's free in. Oh, didn't you nick that from school?
Yeah.
Oh well, you probably should read it at some point. I mean, so you can take it back.
Dirty crime.
That's the most despicable thing anyone's said tonight. That's the worst thing that we've discussed. Is you and your book theft. You book
Awful lot
thieving
of pen
bastards.
thievings.
Perfect. So yeah, no. Shall we go on to it? Shall we get it done out of the way?
What? Oh no. Not, okay, go on.
First off, it's important to know that we are recording this on Thursday, the 12th of October.
Yeah, God knows how many places have been nuked by now.
This obviously is a very fluid situation. This will be going out on what, Tuesday? So
Yeah.
they're basically one of the sides will most likely have been blown up.
There will
Completely.
have been changes in the situation.
Yes.
Or it will have.
So we are acting on as at point of viewing, outdated information.
Mm.
So be kind to us if you disagree, but also fuck you. Right? Fair comment.
Yeah.
Okay. Right then. So Israel and Hamas is kicking off. Israel, Palestine, and Hamas are kicking off, I should say, because it is important to view them as three separate entities, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is perhaps part of where a lot of the discourse on the internet that we're seeing is having the issue, is that they're not properly separating out the concepts of Hamas and Palestine. Would you say that that is a fair assessment?
Yes.
Okay. You're being incredibly cagey.
I'm not being cagey. I'm just. It's a serious subject.
It is a very serious subject.
I'm,
I'm trying to treat it with the level of seriousness it deserves, and here you are saying, yeah. As
That's
if you're
how I treat things seriously.
as
I'm
if
not
you're
doing-
worried. You're worried that I'm going to say something you're going to horribly disagree with.
Yes, I am. Of course, I fucking am.
Look, at the end of the day, my stance is very much always don't kill innocent people, which I don't think is an overly controversial stance.
No, it ain't.
I also acknowledge that I don't know enough about the geopolitical situation there, like in the Middle East in general, for me to properly form an opinion about who I think is right or wrong. However,
Doesn't fucking stop a lot of people.
well, no, but that's the point, Ben. Is as someone who has spent what is it now, 12 and a half years of my life, literally tomorrow, 12 and a half years of my life, writing opinion on the internet that I've tried to make a point of being open and honest and accurate about. Based on that, I think it is only fair that I highlight that when I don't know something, and I don't know enough about the geopolitical situation to say that I believe that any one nation is right in this. But for what it stands, for based on the limited information I'm seeing, like my stance is the Israeli government seems to be a bunch of bastards, Hamas are a bunch of bastards, and all the innocent Israelites and Palestinians that have been caught in the middle are being fucked over. And it seems that our government and the US government and so many other fucking governments are basically applauding the and supporting the destruction of innocent Palestinian lives because of whatever fucking I don't know what they've got going on there.
Because we'd quite like some friendly white people in the Middle East.
You
That's
know.
That's probably wrong, but that's my understanding of it. It's a real politic time. Israel. It would be good to have an ally, one with nuclear weapons, no less, in the Middle East, which is notoriously not, for various reasons, not too keen on the
Hang
West.
on a minute. I thought Iraq had nukes.
Do they?
No, but that's the point, man. That's why we went to war. With... No,
we never found them. They fell down the back of Saddam's sofa or something. But look, do you want me to hear my opinion?
I mean, if you want, there's one last thing I would like to quickly point out.
Yeah,
and that is that I was wondering this morning that at what point someone would start to describe Israel's missile launches into Gaza as a form of genocide. I wondered when that point would be, whether it'd be someone with any sort of political backing to them, or whether it just be some commentator that I'd seen on Twitter. And it was fucking Iran. Iran was the first fucking place I saw.
Of course it was. It's the Middle East.
But like,
that's the dividing line.
But
look,
like that was the fact that this is something that I was seriously thinking, and the first fucking people I see point that out as a possible stance or viewpoint of this was fucking Iran. It blew my fucking mind.
Well, that's fair. I mean...
that I seem to be agree with Iran on something. You know,
Ireland has been consistently on the right side of history and stuff like this. They're anti-apartheid. They come out very much pro-Palestine. At least aspects of them have. But look, okay. So okay. I want to preface this, and I'm sure Jordan, you will agree with me on this. Criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitic.
No, absolutely not.
The Jewish people have a right to a state.
Yep.
I believe that. I understand the desire for a safe haven, for that level of security. And as I understand it, which you may hear a lot, the only reason why Israel is in the Middle East is because no country in Europe wanted a population of Jews. No, it should have been Germany, really, by rights after the war. That should have been part of the process. I mean, our Twitter is very left wing.
Yeah, you follow a lot of lefties. I mean, I encourage them sometimes.
As I see it, as I've heard it, Gaza is basically a cage, right?
That is definitely how it comes across, especially at the moment.
Most of the water, like I think I had 98% of the water, something like that, is undrinkable. They get very little electricity. It's, they're crammed in. It's not a nice place. Israel has basically been expanding across what was once Palestine and forced them into this tiny little cage, basically. And Palestine have tried doing all the diplomatic stuff. There was a protest not too long ago, and Israel opened fire on them. And once you've extinguished every peaceful alternative, what is the deterrent to stop people from shooting?
Well, there isn't a deterrent.
There isn't.
Is
What
there?
do you have to lose at that point? It's not even the entire world. That I saw an infographic of the countries who recognize Palestine and the ones who don't. And the ones who don't include really big players like the US and Canada and us and basically all of Europe. But all of Africa recognizes it. All of South America does. Large chunks of Europe or Asia do. The Middle East does. But all the big power players who have a vested interest in having a friend in the Middle East don't. So I don't like the idea of civilians dying.
No, and it's very important that we highlight that is a stance that we oppose. Innocent people should not die at the hands of anyone.
But I shouldn't say but. It's like the old Game of Thrones thing. You can ignore everything somebody says before the word but. So let's not say the word but, because that still stands. If the Palestinians, what choice do they have? They're angry, they're pissed off, they've been treated like shit. They aren't getting very little support from real world powers. At a certain point, they're going to start fighting back. And I think Israel, the powers that be at Israel, are very pleased with this because it gives them a chance to go fucking scorched earth.
Yeah, and it does very much look like that's what they're going to do.
Yes.
I said it to you privately. I'm going to say it here now. I fully anticipate the Israeli military that seems to be amassing on the border, although some of them have been diverted to Lebanon, so because of Hezbollah or whatever they're called. It looks very much like they're basically just going to swarm across and push them into the sea.
Yes.
The sea, which is currently got US warships in. And I understand that we're sending, UK will deploy patrol and surveillance aircraft and 2 Royal Navy ships, quote, to support Israel. So what we are basically doing as a nation, and again, not the people, the government, what they are doing is they are saying, fuck Palestine. We support people who, from the sounds of it, are committing an actual war crime as well.
Yes, they have turned off the electricity in the Gaza Strip. That is a war crime.
Like when Russia were doing that to Ukraine.
Yes, that is not just depriving power to homes. That is depriving power to hospitals.
Yeah,
that's people on incubators, things like that.
I was reading earlier that the hospital, or one of the hospitals in Gaza, they reckon they only had a few hours worth of fuel left. A few hours worth of fucking fuel in the middle of a fucking war zone, because it's a war zone, because that's what they're all calling it. They're calling it a war, so it's a war zone.
Yeah. This point about Ukraine is interesting because Mark Hamill, he sort of sums this attitude up really nicely. Very pro-Ukraine. Posted something on Twitter saying he nothing but solidarity with the Israelis. That I stand with Israel was the thing, right? The next day, he posted something about how he stands with indigenous people.
Oh fucking hell!
We blocked him instantly. I like Mark Hamill well enough, but it's that sort of centrist failing to understand the situation. I realise that the position we hold on this is not a popular one.
No,
in this country,
it
is not.
Arguably, in this country, it's potentially illegal. From the fact that there was a bloke who got arrested for having a Palestinian flag.
Yes, they've reported that anti-Semitic hate crimes have shot up. And it seems like any pro-Palestinian statement is being counted. It
is worth noting that the article that I read on that, the two specific cases they mentioned, I would say definitely classified as anti-Semitic hate crime. But
there's definitely a lot of it going on.
They mentioned that it had increased fourfold to, quote, 89 reported cases. This is not an epidemic of anti-Semitism, and sadly, there was a Twitter post I saw, because I'm not going to call it X, but Twitter post saying that opposing anti-Semitism, and they put a post on it that said Palestine will be free or something like that.
I saw that.
Presumably as an example of it, and there is nothing in there that inherently says anything anti-Israel, as far as I understand it. The thing about this is that, yes, I absolutely 100% agree that Israel need to do something to stop Hamas from killing innocent people. Right? I do not.
The best way to do that is to find a peaceful settlement with Palestine.
I'm
Hamas.
100% in favour of Israel dealing with Hamas, but Hamas is not every single fucking person in Gaza. What was it? The 2 point something million people,
Yeah.
of which half of them are children under the age of 18, I should say. Which,
Yes.
by our definition, that's a fucking child, right?
Yes.
You know, half of them are under that age. A third of them are under 12, I think it was. This is not a nation of militants. This is. It would be. I saw someone likening it to us bombing the entirety of Ireland because of a few IRA people.
Mm.
And I don't know if that did happen. My IRA knowledge and the troubles.
We were trigger happy. I say we, you lot.
I mean, I wasn't around.
Fucking English bastards. You were pretty trigger happy, but I just want to raise a couple of points.
Yeah, go for it.
I know we both got a lot to say. This is probably going to take up a lot of time.
Well, I'm more than happy for it too because it's a nice peaceful game. I've already lost, so
it's an important issue, and there's stuff we can both say.
Yeah.
On the subject of anti-Semitic crime, Rachel Riley, who is the new Carol Vorderman, say new Carol Vorderman.
Oh God, you're not going to put me off her, are you?
She's not a nice person, John. Posted, basically, she tweeted something that she came out of a restaurant, and there were loads of people. There was someone in a car driving past waving a Palestinian flag and free Palestine and stuff like that. And she used that as an example of how scary it was for Jewish people at this time. I've spoken before about how the Jewish experience is a terrifying one, right? Mm-hmm. Within living memory, there was an attempt to wipe your people from the face of the earth. Millions of you were killed in an industrial fashion, in the most horrifying thing human beings have ever done.
Yeah.
You live with the knowledge that it could so easily happen again, right? David Baddiel, who I also don't really like, on Taskmaster, he mentions the fact, sort of offhand as a joke, that as a child he was terrified the Nazis were going to come and get him. I think that is a very real feeling, and it's understandable.
And clearly, probably one that is growing in a society when we are developing a more right-wing attitude towards every fucking thing that's going on. So I would say, you know.
I get the fear. Well, I say I get it. I understand it as best I can.
You understand that the fear comes from a logical place.
It comes from a very legitimate place.
Yeah.
And neither one of us are trying to diminish that at all.
No, absolutely not.
It's completely, these are people who've been persecuted, since the time of Christ, for fuck's sake.
If you believe the Bible.
Even then, Christ, the Black Death, they were blamed for that.
Yeah,
they were kicked out of England, the pogroms in Russia.
The Romans didn't really like them all that much, did they?
No,
fair point. Carry on.
So, yeah, it's just... It sometimes feels like there's a natural gut instinct to assume that... Actually, no, you know what? Forget that. It's completely warranted, right? But Israel and Jewish people and Judaism is not the same thing. I think Jewish people have a right to a nation state of their own. It's a difficult question to ask. Where do you put it? I don't know. But they have a right to exist, and they have a right to that safety. And
yes,
I think... I can't remember who said it. I think it was a Labour MP in the 90s or something. But he was Jewish. Gerald Kaufman, I think. He basically criticised Israel for exploiting Gentile fear or Gentile guilt over the Holocaust for their own political ends.
Okay.
And I kind of think that's appropriate because it does sort of feel like you can't say anything bad about Israel, otherwise you're being anti-Semitic.
And that's absolutely not what the case should be.
And it's not anti-Semitic at all. It's not anti-Semitic. And we are going to look back. We are. It's an unpopular position we hold. We are on the right side of history.
I firmly agree with that as well.
In 30, 40 years' time, people are going to look back in the textbooks, and Israel will probably deny it. It'll be like the Armenian.
I mean, Christ, they're already denying that there's been negotiations going on. Was it I forget who it was. It was one of the neighbouring countries. Were like, we've tried to help negotiate the release of hostages, and Israel's response is there are no negotiations going on. And it's like, this is like, why are there no negotiations going on? Why are you not trying to negotiate this? What part of? I mean, clearly, what's happened is they've gotten angry, and rather than listen to reason, they are acting. Rather than think about it, they are acting. The fact that they reckon there's 340 odd thousand fucking reservists because they're quite a militant nation. What with their, you know,
Yeah.
what is it? They've got national service, haven't they?
Yes.
A compulsory national service that everyone has to do. So, you know, the fact that everyone at some point has had some tie to the military in that country. Okay, yes, I can understand why. Again, they would have that sort of position because they have been through some terrible fucking things. But seeing as they've been through some terrible fucking things, I don't understand how they could justify trying to inflict it on someone else.
I think part of it is what you're saying, that it is anger among a lot of people in Israel, and a lot of people around the world. But I think there are figures in the government who've just been waiting for an opportunity to go hell for leather on this.
Oh, I
and we're
completely.
actually really quite pleased that Hamas did this. Not that Hamas had the choice.
Well,
I mean, they had the choice not to do it, but if you're fighting for survival, you know what I mean? It's like, and I don't. I read that they didn't intentionally target civilians. I don't know whether that's true. It might be complete bullshit. But I don't think it would be fair to suggest that there was a peaceful option and a violent option in an attempt to solve this issue, and that Palestine has chosen the violent option. I don't think it's fair to break it down like that. But another thing I want to talk about is all the not so much misconceptions, but the misinformation about what Palestine has been doing. There were stories of 40 babies decapitated.
I had heard.
No evidence presented apparently hasn't happened. It's been confirmed that this hasn't happened. There was a woman who was taken from a festival which was happening just outside of Gaza. All these people singing and dancing and having a wonderful time outside a fucking cage, which, okay, lovely. She was kidnapped. There were stories that she had been raped and murdered. She is alive, and I heard that they took her to a hospital. But everybody has been going hell for leather on these stories, and I've seen celebrities. This is sort of amusing, actually. Justin Bieber and I can't remember a fucking name. Jamie Lee Curtis both posted Instagram posts expressing solidarity with Israel, with pictures of atrocities. It was pointed out that both of these atrocities were committed by Israelis in Gaza, and that the people dying in these pictures were Palestinians. You know,
it's a fucking terrible situation that's going on here, but the important thing is getting the fucking facts right. And sadly, no one seems to give a shit about that.
It's hard to do. It's not that no. Well, it's not that no. Well, yeah, no, you're right. I think a lot of people, it's just gut reaction. I think a lot of people are just saying, you know, the news says they see pictures of, you know, Israel suffering. They don't care for the context. They don't care for the facts. It's just, it's really disheartening to see so many people fall into that. This didn't start. This whole Israel-Palestine thing, this story does not start with Hamas attacking Israel and Israel responding.
No.
And lots of people literally calling for genocide.
That's what's going on here.
This thing has been going on since 1947. You know, there's a lot of history there. And
that's part of why I fully acknowledge I ain't got enough knowledge to.
Well, no, nor do I. I really want to do more. This is again. We read a fucking book, right, viewers? Read a fucking book, watch a fucking documentary, educate yourselves. But this is not the beginning. This is like, it feels like the beginning of the end. Because it doesn't seem like any major power has an interest in finding that peaceful solution, in having a sit-down discussion, in, you know, moving towards some sort of settlement or anything like that. The US, Britain, Europe, the EU, they're all basically fine with what Palestine is doing.
Israel
Israel is doing. Sorry.
No, it's. I just wanted
You
to.
know what I mean.
I wanted to correct that before. For
Yes,
one person
thank
who
you.
reads this, listens to this, takes issue with it.
With what that will be our only comment. With what Israel is doing. It feels like we're in the end game. I don't know.
What I think bothers me is that we're not political commentators. We gave it a go briefly. Do you remember?
We are just guys. Yes, I did a lot of posts on that site. Yeah.
We're not political commentators. We are individuals that I'd like to say are at least as smart as the average person. No, I don't want to blow our own trumpet, but we're not morons. Is the gist of this? Okay, we pay attention to the situation. We pay attention to experts. I would say, I think, and we don't necessarily assume that what the government says is correct.
And we're compassionate.
Yes, we're not bastards. We are to each other, but we've known each other for what is it now? 18 years.
Yeah.
Getting on for. You know,
Jesus Christ.
I know. What was it? 2006, I think. So 17 years. You know, we
have that right. We have each earned the right to be
dicks to each other.
A bit dickish to one another.
Yeah. But to the average person, we might speak badly of individuals, but we're not gonna call out for fucking genocide. And sadly, that is the situation we're facing. We are applauding genocide. As a world, we seem to be applauding genocide. Humanity doesn't give a fuck, and it is again not absolutely.
You say humanity.
There are swathes of people. I've not seen anything about Ireland.
I saw one. I just scrolling through my Twitter. I saw someone in the Irish Parliament criticising Israel and saying that it's time for Ireland to take real decisive action to help Palestinian people. That means aid or trying to help negotiate.
The US warships are the thing that really fucking bothers me the most out of all. Like, obviously, there's a lot of things that bother me about this situation. The US warships is the one that bothers me the most, and the fact that we've got warships on the way over there as well. Because what are they going to do if people try to flee into the ocean?
Probably
because right now, the only options are 400 people a day that Egypt are letting through, and that's it. There is no other border. Israel are saying if you want to get out, if you are not someone that we are trying to stop, get out, and then they're not letting them out. That'd be like me saying if you want to leave then, and then locking the fucking door.
Yes.
It doesn't work. It doesn't.
This has nothing to do with Hamas, really, from Israel's perspective, it seems. They bombed a university, claiming that it was a Hamas training center.
I saw that.
Bombed, like, the biggest apartment building, I think, in Gaza. They bombed. It has nothing to do with Hamas. This is about
Hamas for the excuse.
Yes, this is an opportunity to finish the job, and it's probably an opportunity they've been waiting some time for. Again, I'm not a fucking political commentator. Ignore me. This is all speculation. This is all opinion. But that is how I see the situation. That essentially we're in the final stage of this, and this is something that in 40 years' time, the British government and the American government are probably going to have to apologise for.
I fucking hope so. I really do. But I think they'll deny it.
I think. Well, yeah.
We are. I hate to use the term, but we are in a post-truth society at this point. Truth exists. No one in a position of authority seems to care about that. And when you take into account the fact that I hate to bring it back to the meat tax, but such an easily disproven fucking thing. And like, it's just fucking our government at least is peddling that shit like it's gospel. It's Or they were. They seem to have shut up a bit, but they've got something bigger to think about now, haven't they? And I tell you what, it's a little bit selfish of me, but I do worry if maybe this is going to be a thing that, because people are afraid to speak against Israel, they vote for the government that backed them.
Well, Labour's gone for leather on it too.
Well, Labour doesn't
Keir
get a
Starmer
say.
said Israel has a right to defend herself.
Well, you see, that is arguably correct. Yes, Israel does have a right to defend themselves, but defending yourself does not mean punching fucking innocent people in the face with missiles, does it? If I'm being bullied in a school, defending myself is punching back. It's not bringing a gun in and shooting everyone up. Yeah, that's a complete. That's not how it works. That's not fucking defending yourself. That's being the problem. And
except in this situation, the bully has been picking on this kid, and the kid has, or one of the kid's cousin has kicked the bully in the shin, and the bully has decided to wipe out this kid's entire family.
Yes, it's the John Wick situation
with the dog.
With the dog, someone killed the dog, and everyone that got in the way got fucking killed, regardless of whether they did anything with the dog or not. Now, admittedly, to be fair, they all tried to kill John Wick in their own to defend themselves, but they were trying to defend themselves at that point. He had sworn bloody murder on the guy that did it, and everyone who got in the way got. So maybe it's not a very good analogy. I take it back, but
I think
the effort was there.
It's been. I'm proud of myself. I know that sounds really stupid in this situation. It's reinforced this idea that I am, when it comes down to it, a good person.
Yeah.
Right. But it's also made me angry, and slightly depressed as well.
You know that there's that test that you should do if. I've seen it on the internet a few times. It's that if you're not sure if what you're doing is the right thing, ask a child. I asked my 8-year-old son today about this situation. I toned it down a little bit, just for the sake of making it age appropriate. But the gist of the conversation was a bunch of bad people with guns went and killed a load of innocent people in one country, and in response, the country that got attacked, they have fired a load of missiles into the other country, and a load of innocent people have also died there. Who are the good guys? Because that's the situation, right? Dumbed down so that an 8-year-old would understand it. That's the situation.
Yes.
And his immediate reaction, without thinking, no one. No, because he was thinking the people with the guns or the people with the missiles, right? Which of those two people are the good guys? And he's absolutely right, because in this situation, they've both done fucking bad things, right? You shouldn't. I understand where Hamas's stance comes from, but you shouldn't. We cannot back the killing of civilians.
Not morally acceptable.
No, they might have a valid argument. They don't have a valid method.
Military targets, political targets, more acceptable.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
situation.
if you're gonna, now I don't want to sound like a terrorist supporter or a terrorist myself, but if you're going to blow something up, make it a target that is actually a viable target, right?
Yes.
Don't
that is in the game. That is in the game of blatantly oppressing rather than inadvertently perhaps supporting systems of oppression.
Yeah.
It's like the snipers around the Gaza Strip. You know, things like that. That's.
It shouldn't be a controversial thing to don't kill innocent children and women and men, right? But did you see Owen Jones, his interview?
Is that the Margaret Hodge thing?
I think so. Where his stance
is just
his stance was we shouldn't be killing innocent people in either country, and Margaret Hodge, who I believe is Jewish, based on she was basically, it looked like she wanted to crucify him, ironically, for not an ironic crucifixion. It was ironic that looked like she wanted to crucify him. Is the point I want to make here. I'm following this little train just because it looks nice and peaceful.
Okay.
Look at it. I've made a nice little loop for it.
And you've inadvertently suggested that the Jews were responsible for the death of Christ. But go on, no, we won't acknowledge that.
Well, no, because he was crucified, wasn't he?
I know.
He was a
and the
Jew who
Jews were
was
blamed for
crucified.
it. All right, okay. Maybe that reflects badly on me. I don't know.
Jesus, I'm not blaming the Jews for anything. Not even this situation. I don't even blame them for this, Ben, because it's it's important to note that
I don't. It's not a Jewish, issue. It's not
There's a
the
little
fault
boat
of the Jewish people.
I didn't see the little boat. Look at that. Would you live on a little boat, Ben?
I did think about buying a narrowboat.
My old man used to run a narrowboat.
I'm half Irish, right?
No.
And like basically all families in Northern Ireland, we either know someone. Well, we have a connection to the Troubles. My nan's aunt and uncle were killed at Enniskillen, the Enniskillen bombing, which was a hugely controversial thing because it happened on Remembrance Sunday, and it was not a good look for the IRA to do that. I have sympathies with the Republican movement in Ireland. I understand that desire. I understand, attacking the oppressor. I think I'm not going to go into detail because it's a personally complicated situation. But I often think all those people who criticize Palestine or, the Irish Republican movement in England, if the roles were reversed, they would absolutely be die-hard, fighting the invader sort of thing, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I'd think so. All the boats making a run for it, Ben. Sorry.
But people don't think. People don't think. And we need people in power who do care about doing the right thing and care about thinking issues through. And we need people in the media who care about holding those people to account and care about the right thing. Mm. We don't seem to have that on a wide enough scale. And that's worrying and depressing, and I hate that I'm in the minority on this.
I'll tell you what I do worry. I worry that at some point I'm going to see what Piers Morgan thinks about this. And that he's going to be... Because I've agreed with him on certain things that I would not have expected to agree with him before on, and I can foresee this being one of those things.
Interestingly enough, this issue, from what little I've seen, seems to be tearing the right-wing commentator movement in America apart to an extent. There's a lot of disagreement. Some people are saying that Israel had it coming. Mainly, one suspects from genuine anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Some people are attacking Palestine just from the sense of genuine, anti-Middle Eastern sentiment.
Because everyone who lives there is an Arab and therefore should be shot.
Essentially, yes.
Like that's their stance, not my stance. Just to clear things up.
Some people are saying we should have zero fucking part in this whatsoever, just because, helping out a foreign country of any sort. So it's interesting to see all these right-wing grifters targeting different markets in that sense.
Yeah.
But in Britain, it's like, the whole cancel culture thing where it says, oh, you can't say anything these days, and oh, you can't even question it. You can't even question this gender identity stuff, or else they rip your head off.
Yeah.
It sort of feels like that.
What, you question Israel and everyone will bite your head off?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And I genuinely, this is you would think that given my lack of desire to be sued, that I would be a bit more concerned about that for this topic. But I don't understand how anyone could be so vehemently in favour of Israel in this. I just don't understand it.
Or even not even vehemently in favour of Israel, just in favour of genocide.
Well, yeah.
Advocating genocide.
That's another little piggy
supporting genocide. Would be cheering if Gaza Strip was wiped from the face of the earth, essentially. And that people cast to the four corners of the earth.
It strikes me as odd that most nations, it seems, do not recognise the Israeli settlements in the West Bank as being justified or valid or whatever the
Two
appropriate term
entire
is.
continents, South America and Africa,
No,
recognize Palestine.
no. But the Israeli settlements in the West Bank, because
Yeah, that's right.
Israel have built settlements in the West Bank, and they are not internationally recognized as Israeli. So what that means
Yeah.
is that they have occupied, and I keep seeing the words occupiers being used, and this is what I think it stems from. They have occupied Palestinian land. They have invaded it, and the US don't give a shit. And this is I think you're right. It probably is just because we want.
It's a purely political thing. It's having an ally in the region. You know, it's having influence in the region. It would be good for us from a purely political standpoint if there was security and stability in Israel, and Israel had control of that little region, and Palestine was sort of out of the way. And you know, Joe Biden, the CIA, you know, our lot, MI6, MI5, whichever deals with the foreign power stuff.
6, I believe.
6 are completely. They're fine with that, right? That's just how you play the political game. This is part of a grander design to have that sort of element of access and control in that region, and a lot of countries
That's why.
maybe are doing it just because, you know, it's in America's interest, therefore we are allies of America, it's in our interest. That's I don't want to say that's how I read it, as if I have enough knowledge to have a reading of this situation, but that was my
That's your perception,
instinct, really. Seeing all the news, that was really my guess as to why we're supporting Israel to the extent we are. There may be treaties involved, but I think generally speaking,
well, I mean, if any treaty that you sign that doesn't allow you to say no, you can't go around genociding, which I'm not sure is technically the correct term, but accept it for this.
but it's not genocide.
No. Attempting to commit genocide at least.
I know, but that would the argument would be it's not genocide. It's self-defense. It's a response to a terrorist act.
Okay.
It doesn't
Why?
matter if you push Palestine into the sea, right? As far as, you know, the Americans and the British and the Europeans are concerned, it was a warranted response. It is not genocide.
I saw a headline which caught me out earlier. I had the live feed on all day. I was on at work. I had the live feed on for the text posts that BBC do. I had it on on my second screen, hidden away under work for half the time, but I'd flick back to it, catch up, and then carry on again. And there was one of the little headlines that I saw was, we need to take our time, or we need to slow down, or something like that, which I thought fantastic. From that headline, this is someone who thinks what we should do, what needs to happen is they need to take a breath, they need to relax for a minute, and actually think about what they're going to do. And it wasn't.
Yeah, take our time methodically killing each and every Palestinian and savouring every kill as we do so. Is that going to be it?
It was the gist of, we need to, what they, in this context, because he was Israeli, was, rather than rush this through in a couple of weeks, we need to make sure we systematically, properly wipe out Hamas, and we need to do it properly. And it's like, no, I mean, maybe Hamas needs to stop being a thing, since it's legally classified as a terrorist organization. I'm just all I'm gonna say is it's legally classified as a terrorist organization, and it does very much seem like they committed a terrorist act. Right.
The best way to stop it is to find a better settlement. Frankly, is to give Palestine some time and find a new way of moving forward on this. Because if you keep these people in a cage, it doesn't matter. You could wave a magic wand and get rid of every Hamas supporter. Another organization would pop up.
Yeah.
Out of that anger, that justifiable anger.
Yeah.
Jeremy Corbyn has been in the news again. He basically tweeted something that said essentially what you said. Really, that, you know, he condemns the slaughter of innocent civilians. We need to move forward and find a new settlement. You know, we need to come together to stop.
Well, he must have seen my post and made decided to
repeating again and again and again. Of course, the mainstream media fucking dove in on that. Jeremy Corbyn is such an easy, you know, target to
the man really... who would never be in power is such a thing that they need to be concerned about.
Yeah.
See, I think
And people say mainstream media attack Jeremy Corbyn because he was dangerous. I I mean his ideas were threatening to the people in power, sure, but I think the the real answer is that it's just a really good way to discredit the left.
mm,
Um, you know, it'd be like bringing up Michael Foot in the 80s or the 90s, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think this whole situation is only going to get worse. It seems.
no one doubts
I
it.
hate. It's been very. People have revealed their true colours on this. Um, I mean, they've only in the sense they don't think they're doing a terrible thing. They think they're on the right side. They're outraged by innocent people dying.
Yep, but only the right
And
innocent people.
well, yeah, essentially they've revealed that they're basically, you know, CNN or I guess BBC
Well,
or the
BBC have made a
government.
point of they have come across as impartial to me.
I
Uh,
have, yeah, I have seen. I did. I don't watch the news,
no, I just
which,
read it.
yeah, because it depresses me. But I did see a brief bit of it, and they were talking to a Palestinian about the hospital situation.
Well, they've got
I
people in
only saw the
Gaza,
trailer.
um,
Yeah,
and they've got they were defending their lack of the use of the word terrorist. They weren't using the word terrorist, and they'd come under criticism for it. But they're not the only news organisation that strives to remain impartial and haven't used it. And like, it's part of their argument is that the use of the word terrorist means that you've taken a side. By using that term, you've defined that side as bad and wrong, and
yeah.
actually, that's not for them to decide. If they ever use it,
I
it's because they're quoting
yeah.
someone who's used it, and I
I
endorse that as a stance.
one of the other things I saw was that the wording thing came up again in a number of news articles. It was pointed out that Israelis are referred to as having been killed, Palestinians are referred to as having died.
Uh,
Um,
well, I
it
suppose the
there
argument
was
here
a
is that most of the people that died in Israel have been shot by members of Hamas, right? Like in particular that big death toll from Saturday's attack. They
yeah
were supposedly all shot, right? Whereas the people that have been killed in Palestine are probably predominantly missile attack, and so they've not been specifically targeted. They just happen to have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's
I don't
probably
think
the
that's the,
it's probably the
yeah
stance.
I don't agree with that. I don't know whether you do.
No, I don't.
No,
They've all been fucking killed. Blood is on the
I
hands of both Hamas and Israel here.
yes I it reminds me a while ago there was a Palestinian journalist I think who was shot by a sniper.
Hmm.
Um, and the wording around that was very vague as to what actually had happened. That she had died, or she'd been killed, and it sort of suggested it was just vague as to what had happened when a sniper deliberately picked her off. It's this is it's darkly ironic that these people, this nation that it was the Jewish state that was created to safeguard Jewish people from anything like the Holocaust ever happening again. These people who had been, you know, the most famous genocide survivors in history,
Mm.
right? Is now on the verge of committing a genocide of their own, and they're doing it out of maybe not all of them, but a lot of them I think are doing it because they're terrified that it's do unto others before they do unto you. Maybe, you know,
Perhaps.
this could so easily happen, so they're always on guard. Not all Jewish people, obviously, but
No, but
in terms
the
of
nation,
Israel,
the state of Israel is
yeah.
seemingly prepared to, well, they're prepared to commit genocide by the looks of things.
And again, I mean, we keep saying this, but this is not a Jewish. Israel and Judaism are different. Israel and Jewish people are not synonymous, right?
Sorry, just one sec. We've got a chase going on.
Oh no. See, it's lagging quite a lot on my screen, so I can't really see very well. But
Oh.
yeah. But we're not. This isn't criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitic, right? And I don't like the idea of anti-Semitic hate crimes going up. I never have.
No.
Um, I'm not going to say it's not the case that they have been going up, because I don't know for sure. If they're counting flag stuff, that's not anti-Semitic. That's just pro-Palestinian. But we're not.
Oh, I just went through it.
I don't know. It's difficult to put into words, really. But
we're not experts by any sense, and
there's never been a time for Jewish people that hasn't been scary, really, has there? And it's the people who have suffered a great deal, it is not our intent to diminish that suffering by speaking out in favour of Palestine and against Israel.
No. The key thing here is we believe that innocent people shouldn't be being killed by organised militants, be they government or military group.
And as I said right at the start, there's the Jewish state. I believe there should be a Jewish state. I think they have a right to that security in a nation of their own where they can defend themselves and feel secure. I think it probably should have been in Germany, frankly, after the war. I think I saw a good point raised about that. I think America turned them away as well, like after the war when it was being suggested.
Unless they were scientists, of course.
I think I don't know. It's difficult.
Do you want to hear something about this that amused me? Genuinely amused me.
Yeah, go on.
Which is not something I just want you to understand, but it was the wording that caught me out here. Did you hear that our foreign minister, or whatever his name is, James Cleverly, went to
secretary, previously Northern Ireland secretary, I think.
I don't know. I don't pay that much attention. But he went to Israel as part of our showing support as a government, the government showing support for Israel again, not us specifically. And the area he was in had sirens going off because there was a missile strike coming in. And the headline read, "Cleverly runs for cover as sirens." There. And it's like, is it clever or is it just common sense?
Do you want to know my favourite news headline of all time?
Okay, I feel like I've heard it, but yeah, go on.
Yes, I've told you before. So former Labour leader Michael Foot, when he was just an MP, he was in charge of a committee on nuclear disarmament. And the headline read, "Foot, heads, arms, body."
Yes. Yes.
And the stars have to fucking align for something like that to happen. I don't think that will ever happen again. That's once in a lifetime. Less than that type stuff. Foot, heads, arms, body. The newspaper editor, the writer who thought that up must have been beyond thrilled. I can't think of anything that even comes close. No. Maybe how do you solve a problem like Korea with another one that I always remember, which is fun, but it's not quite the same, is it? The foot, heads, arms, body. That's just magnificent. That's fucking perfect.
Did you hear? I know we've been on this topic for quite a while now. It's actually getting to the point where we should think about stopping the video. Is how long we've been going.
Well, it's a big topic.
It is a big topic.
I mean, it is Israel-Palestine. That's like the cliche, difficult situation to discuss in depth.
I did hear that Israel had fired missiles into Syria, specifically into Damascus and Aleppo, which are quite a long way from the border. So they're expanding their outburst somewhat. Now, obviously, I understand Syria and Iran are both anti-Israel. Be they for political or religious reasons, I don't know. But they are supposedly anti-Israel. But it does seem like if you're trying to deal with an issue in one side and trying to avoid a two-front war, which is something they seem concerned about with Lebanon, you don't kick off against someone else.
Bully boy says fuck you because the teachers are on his side.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
What does it matter? Who cares? What are you gonna do? You see, I've got my mate. He's called the USA, and
his bombs are bigger than yours.
This is Europe. Shall we count our nukes? Oh, you don't appear to have any. Oh, that's an awful shame.
Yeah,
it did occur to me that if another few major powers in Europe or whatever were pro-Palestine, you know, and it came down to like the USA and Australia and like France and Spain maybe for Israel, and us and Germany and Italy and a few others, along with South America and Africa for Palestine, we could be heading into some very scary global territory.
I think it's bold of you to ever think that we might be opposed to the US stats.
No, of course not. Of course not. You see where I'm coming from, but it is. I appreciate it's a ridiculous sentiment, and it probably wouldn't lead to anything major because then a settlement would probably be discussed, some change in the status quo, however minor, just to kick the can down the road a little while.
It's the next government's problem.
Yes.
I feel like it's very rare for me to agree with a sporting body, but the FIA, who are, is it the FIA? The football people.
The FA?
It might be the FA. I think the FIA is the Formula One thing, isn't it? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't care.
Football International Association. Anyway, whoever it is that's in charge of the next Wembley match, they're not lighting up the archers in Israel's colour.
Yes,
now
I heard that too.
They said it was supposedly out of fear of backlash, which is a bit of a cowardly thing. But I do support the overall decision that they've made to not pick a side effectively.
There's money in this, and it's a global sport. That's the thing. If it doesn't matter if all the great world powers, all the big players, are on Israel's side. Football is huge in South America.
Yeah.
Right?
Very big.
Presumably,
very big.
it's pretty big everywhere, but it's especially huge in South America. And are you gonna side with Israel and risk alienating such a big market? No, you're not.
No, I definitely
You're gonna play it safe. But one of the things I saw a post on Twitter which amused me. It had all the places lit up with the Israel flag, and one of them was the Titus. I think it was Titus Arch.
Yeah, but yeah. No,
do you know how that was funded?
I'm going to assume it was some sort of anti-Jewish
lengthy campaign in Jerusalem, I think. It's gold pilfered from the Holy Land, I think.
So it's basically the equivalent of the Nazi gold in Switzerland, then.
It's basically what they stole for the temples in Jerusalem and the Middle East.
Wow.
But yeah, I think. Do you have anything else to add on Israel Palestine? Or we could probably talk about this for another hour and just keep going over the same old shit. But do you want to do like
a recap?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
This did not start like whenever it happened on Tuesday, I think. Saturday. This is a long story, and Israel's been doing some pretty shitty things to Gaza. And it's an understandable but not a morally pleasing reaction from Hamas. Genocide is bad.
It is.
Anti-Semitism is bad. It is not anti-Semitic to criticize Israel.
Or killing innocent people, especially. It's not wrong to criticize the killing of innocent people.
It's right. It is a morally objectively good thing to criticize the killing of innocent people.
And if anyone tells you otherwise, question why the fuck they're telling you that it's okay to kill innocent people, and consider how long is it before they can justify the killing of you.
We have a great deal of sympathy for Jewish people.
Yeah.
We have a great deal of sympathy for that community. I think it probably is a scary time for them. It shouldn't be. I don't think. I can see why they would feel like that. It's a valid feeling. I don't think it's an accurate one. But given what they've been through in the last 100 years alone, it's understandable. But the issue is Israel. It is not Judaism. It is not Jewish people. It is Israel. It is Netanyahu. This was calming. Did we fix it? Have we sorted Israel Palestine?
No, we're gonna get cancelled for anti-Semitism then.
No.
So, despite the appeal.
Yes.
The content check, but seeing whether we've created any copyrighted content, is actually going to flag up massive letters: anti-Semitism. The police are on their way.
Fucking Mossad at my door.
So it's a good job I'm recording this. You might be all right.
Yes, it's an unpopular opinion, unfortunately, that we appear to have, but
I think it's the right one.
Country, but it is the right one, and in 50 years' time or so, history will vindicate us. We are on the right side of history.
I know my 4 tweets about this came across as a lot more balanced than they were, but things have changed since I tweeted that. More information has been, I will admit, spoon-fed to me, but
yeah.
I don't feel like my stance has shifted all that much.
That's fair. Your stance is supposed to shift over time. If it doesn't, you're doing something wrong.
And again, I do feel obligated to point out, as I did at the start, that we are recording this on the 12th of October, the evening of the 12th of October. So by the time this goes out in 5 days, everything could have changed. There may not even be an argument to have about this, because one of the sides might have been blown up, or it might all have been peacefully resolved somehow.
I should just say, I've heard a lot of people saying that Palestine is not LGBT friendly. Why are you supporting these people? And it's like, okay, I get that, but I'm not. I can be against bigotry and against genocide.
Yes, absolutely. I disagree
with
with
terrible opinions. I don't want them to be wiped from the face of the fucking earth.
Yeah, but it's that simple, isn't it? Is that your dislike of their politics doesn't mean you want them dead.
No, you do not have to. You do not have to. It's like, I hate to. This is a stupid comparison. It's like Meghan Markle.
Okay.
You do not have to like Meghan Markle to understand where Meghan Markle is coming from, or to agree with where she stands, right?
Yeah.
Or to feel a degree of sympathy for her. You don't have to like someone to be on their side, in a sense, or on one thing. You can be on the side for one thing, and not for many other things.
Yeah.
And
people are multifaceted.
Yes, I'm going to nail both of our colours to the mast and say we're not too keen on genocide. So not great.
The only time I support it is in Rome Total War, and that's because it's the only way to get shit done.
Different times.
Anyway,
to
be more peaceful, shall we end this with something nice and peaceful, Ben?
Yeah.
I want to find out where you want to live in this map. So,
okay.
Pick an area, a quarter of a map for me to zoom in on for you. So
I like that village that's sort of centered by the fields, and there's a body of water not too far from it. It's sort of in the middle of the bottom bit.
Oh, around here. This one.
I don't know. I can't really.
That one?
No, the one to the left.
This little one, or this bit with a windmill?
That bit on the left with the windmill.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere there.
Yeah,
pick
a house. Pick a colour house. What kind of roof do you want?
I wouldn't mind. You see that green one next to the blue one? There's like a little circle.
This one.
It's very juddery, yeah. I'd like the red one with the 3 windows on the bottom and the one at the top.
Yeah, you know what, Ben? We can absolutely make that happen. And oh no!
What?
Sorry, Ben. You can have the one in the middle now.
Joke's on you. I want to live in the windmill. Night,
yeah,
everybody.
Yeah, bye everyone.
Like Jonathan Creek.
I loved that show.
Till his wife made him sell it.
I did
get
really
a job in a fucking ad office or something.
I really enjoyed that program.